podcast you cheer for. Sneaker business talk. It's the Soul Material Podcast.
Welcome once again to the podcast you cheer for, the Soul Material Podcast. And it's your man, the OGEO.
All right, T-Mark Street Shark. We're here for some sneaker business talk.
Indeed. And we're going to tackle the recent news of Nike filing a trademark infringement lawsuit against two sneaker designers who have mirrored the Air Jordan 1 and a Nike Dunk to great profitability and great success and great popularity. And Shark, you've been on this longer than I have. And ironically, these two companies were also warned during the same time that you put me on, because it was a public feud that went semi-viral with these guys. And then we are where we are. So Shark, you want to inform people about these two companies and what has gone on and what got us here to Nike saying, hey, we're going to New York and we filed this lawsuit.
Yeah, so, here's that clarity over popularity, because this has been an ongoing thing. So these are just the next round of suits going out, because in most recent news, Nike had went after John Geiger, and because he has a different relationship with Nike, because he actually used to work with them and do some collaborations. He did the misplaced checks and then, created some trendiness behind the Air Force One, and they kind of cloned him a little bit, and he did his own thing. But now they came right back and said, so he settled his cases, spent a lot of money talking about that. But now we've talked about one of these vendors before. His name's KIY, and then the other one's called Reloaded. So they actually have the same silhouette, where it's just a Jordan 1 with a lightning bolt is their whole stick. And then they just kind of changed the tag of one says Reloaded, the other one is Kai, that still looks like the Nike with logo with the underswoosh. It's Kai with the lightning bolt. So if you go back to our second season or our first season, where we have brands we support episode, we talked about another brand called Psy Collective, all right, somewhere in America. Now, really like their brand just because, again, it's Black-owned brand, and he's really about education. He takes you through the design process, tells you what the manufacturing is going to be like, and that was the difference, because at the time that I learned about them, like, it was him and Kai, they were kind of beefing because of the quality of Kai's shoes, because they had these one-piece molds and you could actually literally bend the whole shoe, but you're advertising it as a premium shoe and selling it for a premium price. Those Kais were going for $350, $400 easy at a lot of these consignment shops in particular. So for it to be that, and he was getting the licenses to do some of these collaborations and HBCUs and selling, it was a lot of direct to consumer, because you can never really just go to the Open Face website and just order stuff. You always had to DM and email and do local stuff. So, and he does t-shirts. He also had the license. This person also had the license for support Black colleges. So you see those HBCU shirts, like he owned the license. He was one of the first ones to actually have that license. And so I know that there was a lot of revenue going from the apparel side, but when we started going into shoes, they became a little popular. I feel like the Kais were more popular than the Reloaded. I guess they're more, you might say that they were regional, but the irony is they were competitors, because they were kind of just getting these things were more than likely, I'm just going to say allegedly, because I can't confirm it, but truth be told, as Sire would in Devin over at Sire would tell you, those are being produced at the factories that produce the fakes. You know what I mean? So that's why it's easy to have that tooling already there. And then, a part of that, all you get to do is just change the logo, and then wherever it gets embroidered, and then you have these limited options. It's just like Nike ID, basic model. So when you have all of those things going on at the same time, these two, Reloaded and God, they had the same model, same lightning bolt. They didn't even switch the lightning bolt to something else. So they're competitors, but now with this lawsuit, Nike sued both of them and made them co-defendants. So now they have to work together to get out of this jam.
And the thing with that, Tony, that makes sense from that end is that unless you are the shark or someone who's really in the game, someone from the outside looking in, can they really tell the difference between a Kai product and a Reloaded product? Honestly, and if you're just a fan of neither and just
if we did a Coke and Pepsi taste test where there's no label on it, is there a difference? Like, it's not even, do you notice a difference? Tell me, what is the difference? It's the same model with the same logo.
So, according to Nike, just if we could keep things and logistics in order, Kyle was worn on August the 6th of 2021. So we're talking about a long time period where he had, I'll say, the time frame and the grace to contact Nike and try to come up with a resolution. And they also said that Omni was contacted sometime in October of 2022. So it's not like Nike just filed a lawsuit called dates, like you said earlier, Tony. There's been warnings, there's been communication. And I'm not sure if they were totally egregious in just ignoring it or so forth. But again, now we are where we are. So
yeah, and they're going through this. And, if you're listening, to us in order, you're also hearing about this theme of the way that the market is changing. You see how Nike's going more direct to consumer and not going through the retailers. Well, this is part of the long play, is to scrub the market so that you can continue to go direct to consumer because you got too many people, cloning and piggybacking off of what your movement is. And if that's the new thing and what it's going to be for the future, then of course you gotta, and you got the power, you know what I'm saying? You gotta, this is my block. You know what I'm saying? This is Barksdale Tower. You got to get Brother Muzone on your team if you're gonna fight these people. So I don't think that I don't think that people may have taken it serious or not. That's who am I to claim, or it's like one of those, like, it's a compliment that Nike said to me, it's cease and desist. I made it. And then it's just like, okay, but are you ready?
So furthering your wire references, dare I say that you had a prop Joe in the game who showed you how to do it and had the good dope, and that was Bait. And to give you credit, Shark, before we got on, you and I had a conversation prior, just vibing, and you were saying how Bait did just enough to where they can't get sued because of, it may be little nuances, but it's enough changes in that model to where there's no infringement suit against them, particularly with them and Nike, about one of their models looking like the Air Force One. So you got Prop Joe out here showing you how to cook, and for some reason, these two, I don't understand.
See, what happens is these models are easy because the tooling is already there, and so you don't have to spend but so much for the infrastructure. Like, you're already spending enough, right? Like, just go all the way and spend what you need to spend, because now you're not fully prepared for the aftermath, because if you you got to start all over. Like, what are you going to do? So yeah, why hasn't Bape gotten the same cease and desist? Why weren't they the first ones? They get the most out of this? Well, this is all about a trade dress. All right. So it's just like a trademark, a trade dress for, a sneaker, because it's just like architecture, and there's a blueprint for the sneaker that says here's the outline, and here's the panels, here's the upper, the middle, and then, the panels. And when you file for the trade dress, Nike has one for every silhouette. You know what I mean? So that if you just take the logos off all the panels, like, whatever is being knocked off, it can't look like that. So it just strips it down, even with the Nike logo off, and says, what does it look like on the basic level? That means nothing else can look like this. So you can't put other stuff on top of it. You have to change something about this basic structure, the way that the lines flow, the way that the panels go, the way that the stitching goes across, or the lines of the stitching go across. You either have to, if it's one line, on a panel, just add like a second subtle line right next to it, and that'll be okay. But if you just keep everything the exact same, that's what's different about Bape. Bape has like one extra line around the toe box, the way that the 4-foot midfoot on one of their, especially the Bape studs, has like, it's not a full rounded, it just has this little uptick and then it goes back down, and then on the back heel on the one little panel of the swoosh, like just like the back where the check would connect or the star would connect, instead of having the one panel that's covered, it has like this double panel. So it's so subtle, it doesn't even look like it's there. And then there's like one more curvature of the toe box that's just a sharper curve rather than a more elongated, rounder curve. Just imagine like the Jordan 11 patent leathers, how the OGs have it's like the fat patent leather, like because the fake ones get extra skinny around the way it gets around. So it's kind of like that, and it's just the subtleness. There's actually like 3 different things that makes the Bape Air Force Ones different from an Air Force One, and they're so subtle you don't even know. So, but take that time, because you're gonna have to build the molds and all the other stuff. So that's why I said, from the research shows that some of these, that's like getting one of these Alibaba, warehouse merchants or whatever to mass produce your stuff, and then just slap some name on it on a generic Jordan silhouette. Everyone has these things, you might source some better materials than you could get at those factories, but it's still the same mold. So I just never understood why people like them. See, my thing is, as a purist, I don't even understand how they got popular like that in the first place.
Now that you said that, keep it right there, because we are, again, 80s babies, 90s kids. So I'm about to drop something that you can't even Google at this point in time. Tony, I know you remember this. There was a store called Payless Shoes, and they had Pro Wings. And Pro Wings had renditions of, let's say, the Air Trainer 1, maybe, the Fila tennis and other shoes for $29.99 tops. I do recall their sport angle or their sport package, which was XJ900. And they had in 1993 a silhouette and a colorway that resembled the Jordan 8 Aqua. And this shoe, dare I say, in the hood, became just as popular as the Jordan 8 Aqua originally, because they were done so well, to the point that it almost became equal. You were not clowned in the hood for wearing XJ900 Aqua 8s. But guess what? The Jordan 8 back then was $125. No one was going to pay $125 for the XJ900. They were $29.99. Again, a fraction of the price, literally 66% less. So being a purist, Tony, I don't understand how a Jordan 1 now, let's go ahead and call it, retails for $180 or $200, but I'm still paying that or even more for, no disrespect to Kai, no disrespect to Omni, but I'm like, I should be paying a fraction of the price if I'm getting the quality that was exposed last year. Am I wrong, or is something going on here?
Well, it's because they're trying to come with their brand, right? So it's not just the shoe, it's the brand. Just like when you buy a high designer shoe, that's still a Payless shoe too, but it's the name on it. So they're trying to equate, and I get it. With the lifestyle stuff, a lot of these high-end brands started doing these silhouettes that, that look like, like the Mason Margiela, like those look like Jordan 1s, you know what I'm saying, long before, some of these other brands, and then the Balenciagas and, some of the Louis Vuittons look like, pro kids, you know what I'm saying, or British Knights, like those silhouettes or Avias, like they all look like those, but they make them high end, and then they're $3,000. You know what I'm saying? And then now the consumer, if you didn't rock with those back then, or you ain't know about those look like kangaroos, you know what I'm saying? You see how it was okay for us to to rock these. Yeah, and the troops. It was okay for us to rock these. Look at the half of the Ewings is just what you just described, because those are like Jordan 8s and Hirachis, or half of the Ewing collection, or what the inspiration is. But to fully answer the question, I mean, I think that it's really flip flopped. It looked like politics in this country. It just totally flip flopped from your original principles. And then now look, instead of it being okay to, you might look foolish rocking too much expensive stuff back then. You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with you? You looking like you ready to get set up, or you look like the feds because you got on the squeaky clean uniform. You like, hold on. So with that, you really can't call it. You know what I'm saying? So I really think that everyone has changed in their own values, and you value the optics more than you the substance, because the shoes all cost near the same to make. You know what I'm saying? And that brand. So because it's nice and collaborative and everything like that. And like I said, Kai had more following before the sneakers. I'm not up to speed all the way with Omni and his background prior to doing these sneakers. But you got in the right place at the right time with the influencers and things going viral in their own nature. But I think that was, some of this is what we told you to be careful when, it's like, oh yeah, support Black owned, like, yeah,
but
do your homework. That's all I was saying.
Definitely. And I understand the silhouettes, Tony, and similar colorways, but I think I'm not really did a disservice by doing the Krugers and doing the Chunky Dunkies, because those are two particular very limited ones that it's going to be hard for him in court to kind of prove that case, because those two are so distinctive, like we talked about previously in a previous episode, as far as with Adidas and Kanye, where you might want to take the name off, but people know where that design came from because it's so distinctive. And those two colorways particularly, I'm like, oh, now I can understand doing a black and red and other colors that they do, but that's
definitely what made it worse. Because it's like, it's not even, now you took the popular colorways and redid them the exact same way. Like now it's just like you're stressing it with that whole paying homage thing.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Like, things are inspired by, not cloned by. You know what I mean? And then that's when you start to lose points, because it's like, are you a designer? Or you might be an entrepreneur, but like, don't tell me you're a designer when you didn't really design anything. Like, you're doing colorways. You know what I mean? And we've talked about this in a couple of different ways, like, give us some infrastructure, give us the opportunity.
And I tell you,
so
Tony,
we will mess you up with the colorways, yo. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I had to look directly into the camera on that one. Like, we will mess you up with the colorways, yo, and with the thought and the layers, so.
And again,
we want you to care.
And you got Bape as the main, like, they've been at it for years. And I'm just like, I'm just interested to see how this goes and how this ends up, because I'm seeing an open and closed case, and Nike is not going to spend the time and the money if it hasn't been a certain amount of influence, and B, a certain amount of profitability that they can at least assume or project that has been made. So, again,
I mean, I've heard about Geiger in his case. It took him a while, but it sounded like he settled with Nike. And to him, that's more of a win, because they didn't make him change everything from scratch, right? He settled because he documented in his journey how much he went out of his way to prevent this from happening. He thought he was listening to some of the cease and desist that he was getting, you know what I mean? And he kept changing and tweaking, and it was just got this moment where it's just like, yo, I mean, how much more do you want from me? You know what I mean? Because I think he's kind of hinted that he spent, I want to say $1.2 million or something like that, just in the lawyers and all the trade dressing and everything else and the trademarks that he had to go through and all the paperwork over and over and over again just for his Nike case. And that did disrupt cash flow to his regular business or whatever, and I think that he said that the biggest thing that happened was that he was a brand that did a lot of collaborations with other brands. He said that that's what messed him up, is that I put his collaborations on hold, so that's just to touch on another one of these that kind of wound down and now they're going after the next round. I do not foresee this duo having the success that Geiger did, because Geiger was way more transparent and had way more detail and sounded like he was more prepared. This one was not that it was a surprise because they were warned, but it was more like other people in the industry have warned you. You know what I'm saying, that you weren't going to go but so far. And it was just almost I'll just keep operating under their radar until you get to here. Like, is this a compliment to you that they are suing you now? Maybe, but tell me the value of that and the future value of where you can be. So yeah, this is a tough one to swallow. But again, I get it. As a consumer, like what you like, but don't be influenced, please. Like, I get it with the Black-owned businesses. That sounds great, but don't let that be the only selling point. Because if you're getting cheated by the quality of the Black-owned business, because once a lot of people start finding out that you can like bend the shoe, and then they start to learn that there's actually multiple pieces to your sole and your midsole and your upper, and they're just like all this one piece stuff, and then the overwrap, and then like it looked like it's the same silhouette, but in my head, I was just like, how is that comfortable? Do they have like some special inserts that come with these that overcompensate for all of that? But again, if you just put some shiny patent leather on something and change the colorways, just have value and stuff, for what it is, not for what people are advertising it to be.
Definitely, because that's one thing that Nike has in the lawsuit verbatim, saying that their concern is that these items by Kai and by Omni, they confuse the customer, and not just us because we know better, but just the typical basic customer, which from the Krugers and from the Chunky Ducks, you have a parent online looking to get their son or daughter, a shoe. Generally speaking, that's fact. Like, what's the difference?
Here, I mentioned this earlier, that these were being sold a lot at these consignment shops as well. So Nike's not stupid. They know that their products are being resold on the aftermarket, and they're sitting next to this on the shelves of them. They just have to think about this more now, because it's diminishing returns on Nike's value, right? It's almost like how, socialism and racism kind of work. It's just like you just tell the story enough, right? And then it just optically starts to become true in people's proximity, right? So if you see those two shoes together enough, the Nike shoe's value just goes down.
There you go.
Like, I don't care what rate the other shoe goes up. This conversation is about Nike's value, perceived value, going down with these shoes next to it. All right, because they look that much alike. They look, and then that comes with a premium price. So then it's just like you kind of know that the consumer is attracted to the price as much or more sometimes than the actual shoe itself, because the price just says this is of value because it's $250 now. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird. This is how consumer behavior works. It's psychology. It's psychological warfare. That's why I've studied this for the sake of business, because it's human behavior. Like, we're all triggered. We make decisions. These things, they feel like they're happening, but people are making decisions. They're micro decisions, but these they're pushing your buttons. So as a consumer, this is why we tell you had the power. to not think this way. You know what I mean? To be educated. So there you go. Some more sneaker business talk. Because we really had to peel back the layers on that one. Because there's this is a business. This is a business. There's a lot of legalities going on. And we're always here to inform you about what's happening, so you can make the best possible decisions as a consumer and understand that value of what you're looking at when you're standing in the store, looking on the shelf, especially the parents that may not know, but their kids want to really get involved in, but you're the one spending the money. So, you see that car, you see that lightning bolt on there, it's not worth the $400. You know what I'm saying? So, and it probably is not as comfortable. So there you go. But again, if you want to be designers, go be designers, please. We love the hot designers that are out there. Shout out to like someone like Salehi Finbury. You know what I mean? Collaborating
Indeed.
with everybody, at his choosing, and he's your stock is gonna go up. Look what he did to Crocs. So we'll say that for another episode. But there are people out there that are contributing to the game in a positive way, and you don't have to cannibalize it just by. It's almost like you're vulturing the vultures.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So you're gonna get what you get. Go back to our Plugs and Connects episode, and we'll illustrate that connection on who's on top of who and who's doing what.
Definitely. And this may be something we have to tackle later on, Tony, because this is definitely to be continued, and we may have to come back to this in the future, depending on how this ends up and what goes on with these two companies, or if Nike ends up having infringement lawsuit as far as trademarks with anyone else in the future. So I had a feeling that we're going to be talking about this in an upcoming episode.
This isn't going to stop, So again, this is a sign that Nike has entered the direct-to-consumer chat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Period.
So move out the way. You hear that squeaky wheel? That's Debo. Nikes are coming.
Oh no, the lights out. Until next time, it is the OGEO.
All right. T-Mark the Street Shark.
Peace to you. We'll catch y'all next time around.
There you go. Podcast to cheer for.
Indeed.